Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Thursday evening webinar session with the Parent Academy. Thank you for joining us. And again, we're excited to have you as audience listeners and participants. I am Tina Folston Hayes, the Parent Academy Specialist for Educational Equity and Outreach for the Alachua County Public Schools, and I welcome you this evening. Tonight, we will receive some helpful information in regards to building your child's confidence from Ms. Macy Cast of parentguidance.org. And just before we begin, I would like to go over a few housekeeping elements. Please keep your microphones on mute through the duration of the presentation. We will be monitoring your questions and responses through the Q&A feature located at the bottom of the webinar window. Miss Macy also used Menti, so she'll explain all of that to you all, so you guys will be able to participate with her through that. All of our Parent Academy webinars are closed caption, recorded, and posted to our website for re-review at a later date for anyone who could not tune in live tonight. If you have any personal conversations that you may need to have with myself, please send an email to me at parentacademy@gm.sbac.edu, and we will get to those questions, forward it to the correct personnel, so that way we get your questions answered. And without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Miss Macy Cast. Hello.
Thank you so much, Tina. I'm really excited to be here tonight and talk with your parents about what we as parents, as caregivers, can do to educate ourselves so we can build our child's confidence. And that is a really big task that we're going to break down into understandable segments for you this evening. Tina did mention that we use a website called Menti. It is how we interact with each other from a distance. So if you are live here with us tonight, you can join Menti two ways. You can go to menti.com and enter in the join code 26104820. You can also use your phone to scan the QR code on the screen. Once you get logged in, go ahead and click that heart button so I know you're ready to participate. If for any reason you get kicked off Menti, the instructions bar to join will be on the top of every interactive slide. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can put them into the Q&A feature and we will address them at the end. So I will leave this up for just a little bit and so everybody can get logged in. It does make a big difference if you join Menti. For Menti, what it does is it allows us to interact with each other anonymously too. So we're going to participate in discussion questions and other activities that keep our identities confidential. And we found that really useful when we talk about some of these tougher mental health topics. So if you want to join Menti still, this instructions bar will be at the top, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So as I mentioned, we're here tonight to learn about how we can work on building our child's confidence. We're going to learn how identity formation has a lot to do with building our child's confidence. And our course today is going to be led by Dr. Kevin Skinner, who is the clinical director of parentguidance.org, and I will introduce you to him in just a little bit. Up first is our first Menti question. If you are on Menti, wonderful, go ahead and let me know so I can gauge where our audience is tonight. What age your children are. Do you have elementary kids? Maybe you have middle or high school or older children. Who is in your home? The great thing about tonight's session is that you can really apply this to any age range. Obviously, we're talking about identity formation, so it's going to be helpful the younger you start, but you can help build your child's confidence at any age. So looks like we have some elementary parents on here tonight. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you for answering. And our session tonight is being led and it was created by Dr. Kevin Skinner, who is the clinical director for parentguidance.org. He has over 25 years of experience helping children and families. At the end of the hour, I will I'll take you on a guided tour of parentguidance.org to show you where you can find additional resources and additional help. Here's a little more from Dr. Skinner.
Welcome to Parent Guidance. I'm Dr. Kevin Skinner. Over the past 26 years, I've had the privilege of working with hundreds of individuals, couples, and families. Inevitably, as we talk, it comes back to, how do I help my child? I remember my wife had our first child, and we walked out of St. Elizabeth's Hospital, and I was carrying this newborn infant, thinking, holy cow, what do we do? Where's the manual? Now, since that time, I've learned a lot, I've experienced a lot. I recognize that there's times as parents, we simply don't know what to do. And often we find ourselves doing what our parents did, even though we promised that we would never do what they did. And the reason why this is so important is I want to give you insights into your child to help you understand at a deeper level what they're thinking, what their struggles are. I'm grateful that you've joined me, and I look forward to sharing this information with you.
All right, now Dr. Kevin Skinner is going to help us understand what identity formation is and how it happens in our children.
Today we're going to focus on identity formation, the power of understanding how we form our identity, and as a parent, what you can do to help your child form an identity where they're more confident, more playful, more creative. As we continue to grow from infancy throughout our adolescent and even into our adult years, we form these neural maps. These are what we would say patterns of interaction, patterns of how I see you. And so we do things so habitually, patternistically, that we do things without even thinking. So for example, I'd like you to brush your teeth. Ready? So you get your hand up, you ready? Did you have it up? Okay, great, thank you. You got it up. We're brushing. Schwa. Okay, how you doing there? Right, you're just fine, right? Now I want you to try to brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand. Ow, that hurt, right? Those gums are getting hurt. Because what? You're not used to the angles. You're not used to moving that hand that way. And in truth, these neural maps or neural patterns have been established. So if you do it with your dominant hand, you do it without even thinking. You do it with your non-dominant hand, and you have to think. These neural maps that we form about people and relationships and our identity, they're formed and they continue to be reinforced over time. And why is this a big deal? Because some of these neural maps, where do I belong? Will you be there for me? And who am I and where do I fit? These foundational questions, they don't ever go away. But once we have an idea of who we are, then we continue to nurture that identity. But what happens if that identity is I don't belong, I don't fit? Oh, I'm the anxious one, I'm the spoiled one. We start to fit into these niches, and suddenly we don't even question anymore, oh yeah, I'm the geek, I'm the nerd. And you can start to see how we form this identity around our experiences. The consequence is, if we don't ever have anything to interrupt that, we can form an identity and get lost in it, and people around us don't even know. Now, if I was to invite you to say, what core beliefs do I think my child has about themselves? You might be surprised at how accurate you are, because you've heard your child say it over and over. I'm not kind of social, or I don't do things like that. Or I'm not that smart, I don't do well in math. You hear it, right? You hear that belief that they've kind of started to adopt, that in identity formation is already sinking in, so to speak. And once they've accepted those fundamental beliefs, that's how they feel about themselves. And as parents, we want to observe that and help them question and keep an open mind into who their identity really is.
All right, so now we have another Menti question for you guys. Do you, as parents, as caregivers, ever label your child? Maybe you hear other people in your family giving them a label. Have you maybe used a phrase like, this is my troublemaker? We want to ask ourselves, are we putting our children into categories? We want to consider the impact that these labels could have on our kids. In Menti, go ahead and share if you ever use one of these labels on your children, or maybe something that your child would describe themselves as. I know when I was a kid, I thought I was the shy one. It's not as true as when I'm an adult, but I always thought I'm the shy one. My mom would say I'm the shy one. And we want to think about this. If you are doing it, that's okay. We're here to learn and to grow. If not, then this is something we want to try and avoid. But the question is it wrong to say that our children are smart or athletic? Well, instead, we want to try and use more rounded labels if we do. If we focus on being well-rounded, it's going to help boost our child's identity formation. So consider how you want your child to see themselves and use language that reinforces their strengths. A little bit about what we are going to learn about this evening. We are going to look at changing habits and patterns, which is, trust me, not always easy, but we're going to look at why and how to change those patterns. Next, we're going to talk about attuning or listening to our children, not only their words, but their actions too. We're going to talk about developing resiliency traits and strengthening our kiddos' ability to ride both the highs and the lows that life throws out. And we will also talk about fostering creativity in our child's mind and how playing is a very important part of your child's development. We're also going to touch on developing a growth mindset and ways that you can continually connect with your child. We're going to talk first about changing habits and patterns. Dr. Skinner mentioned in the previous video about brushing our teeth, how easy it was to do with our dominant hand, but when we tried to do it with our non-dominant hand, it felt awkward or uncomfortable. So imagine what Dr. Skinner is going to say about changing habits and patterns. Let's hear from him.
Our identity, our beliefs, how we see ourselves, it's all variable. It changes. In fact, they've found that we can change our genetic makeup, the things that manifest, just by how we live our lives. For example, what is the influence of daily routine of exercise? What is the influence of changing our eating habits? What is the influence of having a close friend in contrast with spending all your time alone? It changes us. It changes how we feel inside. So really important to understand that there is no neural map or identity formation that is fixed. It can be altered and changed. So here's a quote by Dan Siegel and Mary Hartzell. When we send out a signal, our brains are receptive to the responses of others to that signal. The responses we receive become embedded in the neural maps of our core sense of self, a neural representation of the self as changed by the other is created within our brains that becomes a central aspect of our sense of identity. All right, so what does that mean? You influence me. I influence you. That sense of identity comes from our day-to-day interactions. So if I've formed an identity that I'm not enough, or you're mad at me all the time, or you don't like me. What happens to that child when I go up to them and say, you know, I haven't been available to you. I think I've been too busy. And I need to apologize because you're really important to me and I haven't been there. What would happen to that child's sense of identity and how they fit with you and how they see you in that acknowledgement? The point is it doesn't have to be fixed. It can be altered. And I sense it based upon how I interact with you.
So Dr. Skinner said he was talking about how our neural map can be changed. It's not a fixed identity. We can change these neural maps that are based on environments. For example, if we have a close friend versus spending time alone, this changes the way we feel inside. If you have more than one child, think about the environment in your home when maybe one goes away for a while, maybe to camp or to stay with relatives. We definitely notice an energy shift in our homes when they're absent. We get used to the environments that we live in. Therefore, our identity shifts based on our environment, which is usually ever changing. What kind of message are your actions sending to your child? Are you building their identity in a positive manner by the way you're interacting with them? These are questions that we want to ask ourselves as parents and as caregivers. Next, we're going to learn about what Dr. Skinner means when he says attuning to your child.
You sense that your child's in distress and you say, oh, are you doing okay? And they say, I'm fine. And you say, you don't sound too fine. They say, oh, I don't want to talk about it. Well, fine. If you don't want to talk about it, then great. Or, I'm here if you'd like to talk about it. I'd love to be here for you. Now, those two responses, the quality, the intensity, and the timing of it. If I'm there, if my timing is present, I'm reading something's off. That type of emotional response enables us to be what we would say attuned to our children. That then creates the neural map of, okay, I can trust this person. I can be there. They'll be there for me. And I can be that vulnerable with them. If we're going to help our children form a good identity, those are the moments where we're present enough to detect they need attention. Now, this is work as a parent. This isn't easy. But parenting in and of itself, we don't have to be 100% perfect. We just have to be there enough, and they have to know enough that we do care. So when it matters the most, we are there and available. If we're going to help our children form a healthy identity, it's that they recognize that they have a place to bounce things off of. Recently, for example, my son, we haven't had a whole lot of boys his age in our neighborhood, but recently somebody moved in almost exactly his age. And last night, he spent hours and hours out by this tree creating this unique fort in this place, and they were playing. And he came in energized, because they had been creating something together. He was forming an identity of connection with another person because they were playing this mental game together. And if somebody came to steal us or get us, we'd go through this tunnel, but you can hear it. Now that kind of interaction is something that my wife and I have been longing for him, because it's in those connections where he learns social skills, he learns to interact and play, and that's where their confidence grows. The neural mapping is, I belong in this world, I fit. Now let me contrast that with an adolescent who is at school and being bullied and don't have anybody to come talk to about that experience. Or the person who is in a dating relationship and that person breaks up with them, or even worse, cheats on them. And now they're feeling despair. They're feeling like I don't fit and I don't belong. And maybe that person that broke up with them is now going around and telling others that this person, that your child was bad. Now that child's even more ostracized, left out, not a part of. And in scenarios or situations like that, it is imperative for us as parents to detect, to connect in a timely way, in a quality way, where they feel heard and they feel understood and they have a safe place. The concept here of identity formation is that we help them realize they have a safe haven in our homes at all times. Now, that requires us as parents to be attuned, and it requires us to be on our game. But if we can do that, we will help our children in the identity formation of confidence, and they'll be able to be resilient through those experiences because we've created a safe haven and an awareness that they need us in those times.
We do not have to be perfect. We just need to be there enough so when it matters most, our kids know that we're available for them. It's important to keep lines of communication open with our children so that they will come to us when they need us. It is so easy to get wrapped up in our busy world and forget to slow down and to ask questions of our children. And when it matters, to really listen to what they're saying or even what they're not saying. Being attuned with our child just means being aware. Dr. Skinner talked about longing for a friendship for his son. When we form a connection, we form a sense of belonging. Think about your child or your children. As a parent, how do you decide where to focus your attention? In a perfect world, we would give 100% of our attention to every situation that each one of our children needs, but we can't realistically do that. So what can we do? That becomes the big question. Well, we know that we can't do it all as parents, even if we want to. We need to help our children develop their own resiliency traits. Dr. Skinner is going to talk about how we can do that.
We want to incorporate in this identity development the message that we do hard things, we overcome challenges. Resiliency also comes when we teach our children that they are good enough. No matter what they go through, no matter what challenges they experience, we're trying to incorporate this core belief. You're not going to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes. See, resiliency then is allowing mistakes, allowing them to falter and get back up. So they come home with a C. What do you say? Oh my goodness, you're just like me. You're not going to amount to much. Oh wait, sorry, I didn't mean to say that. No, I'm teasing. The point, they come home with a C. Did you learn in the class? What did you learn? Do you feel like you applied yourself? Now, those types of questions get them thinking. But ultimately what we're trying to help them understand is they can be in charge of their outcomes. If they work hard, they can be creative and do better things. There is nothing in our world that is fixed. Resilient people have a range of emotions. It's not just one emotion. We have ups and we have downs. So what I learned from resilient people is they had flexibility. Not rigidity, but they were able to be flexible. And so they had hard days. They had days that were depressing. And they were able to say, I'm going to have hard days like this. And that's okay. As we form this identity, we need to recognize we're going to have ups and downs and ebbs and flows. We're going to wax and we're going to wane. We're going to be strong and we're going to be sad and feel weak. And be sad and happy and sad and happy and sad and happy. And up and down. And so when we talk with our children, we honor these emotional experiences, and then we ask questions and teach them by saying things like, what are you learning from these experiences? And we're teaching them to be resilient by understanding and learning and growing from these experiences. As children go through puberty, we can fully expect that the hormones inside of them are going to create a range of emotions. And so there's certain times as parents, we're going to say, oh, that's what's going on today. And we're going to allow them to be in an energy. And if it's not completely inappropriate, we'll say, that's where you are. It's okay. I understand that you were angry. Just know that I'm here and I care and you matter. But I don't want to be treated that way. I know, Dad. You understand the concepts. Resilient people have flexibility, ups and downs. And their parents allow them to be in those emotions. And then they begin to teach them how to regulate those emotions, how to deal with those emotions. It's not that they're bad emotions. We teach them, hey, you are feeling sad. Let's talk about sad. Let's learn about this. You are feeling socially anxious. Let's talk about that anxiety. What's your fears? Help me understand. Yeah, let's give it a language. Let's speak about it.
Unfortunately, as parents, as caregivers, as people in a child's life, we cannot always take away their struggles and their pain, but we can help them learn from these experiences and develop resiliency. Dr. Skinner said we need to honor their emotional experiences. It's good for our children to go through some hard times. It's also good for us to go through some hard times. That is where we grow most as people. You need your child to know, but also to believe that they are good enough, no matter what they go through, and especially no matter what society might tell them. We need to help develop a positive belief in themselves and our children. And things that we can do to develop that is to constantly remind them of their worth, how much they matter. We as people need to constantly hear things like this to help build our identity. We can create a safe environment in our home, especially if our kiddos maybe aren't getting that safe environment outside of our home. Dr. Skinner is going to talk about the importance of fostering creativity. So let's learn more about this from him.
One of the things that we know about children is their ability to play is one of the best things that they can do. In fact, they often say that playing is the job of a child. And learning how to play, learning how to interact with others, learning how to be creative and imaginative. I remember one of my teachers in child development said, you want your child to have fictitious characters and characters that they make up in their mind, because that creative interaction helps them be social. So think about your child's ability to play. Play games, play with friends, play with dolls, play with big trucks or Tonka trucks. As adolescents, having them play with peers, interact with their peers, these are things that we want to encourage. And having them in our homes, playing games with their friends in our homes, it's a very valuable thing. What is your child doing to play? And I would encourage that play to have 2 or 3 different facets. One is human interaction. 2 is some type of hand-eye coordination creativity. So if it's a sport, that's great. That's a great way to play. Another one is actually to be imaginative in drama. I remember my wife and her sisters, when they get together, our children would create plays together. And it was so much fun to watch. They would create a script and then they would do a play for us. These types of interactions are memories to never be forgotten in our home because our children were learning to play and interact with each other. So another way to create this identity formation is in how we play.
I really like what Dr. Skinner said in the last video is that playing is the job of children. Creative interactions teach children how to be social and how to interact with others. One of the things that we know about children is their ability to play is one of the best things that they can do. Creative interactions teach them how to be social and how to get along with other people. The 3 things Dr. Skinner said that play needs to include are human interaction, so playing with another kid, preferably around their age, hand-eye coordination, so maybe they could do something like sports or something else that they enjoy in that area, and to be imaginative, like participating in drama or plays or even make believe scenarios. Take a moment and reflect. When was the last time that you played with your kids? Not just watched them play, but interacted with them in a playful way. We as parents may need to teach or what's called model this for our children. We can show them what it looks like and teach them how to play appropriately. Even kids in the preteen or teenage years need interaction. They need the social interaction, but also imagination. Maybe you could pick up a basketball and go shoot hoops with your teenager for half an hour before dinner. You don't have to be good at something to play. These opportunities can be memorable times together. If you are not playing with your kids, you may try and be more conscious of this and look for opportunities to play with them. Up next, we're going to talk about what a growth mindset is. Your kids may have learned about this in school. A lot of teachers go over this in elementary, but Dr. Skinner is going to explain the difference now to us between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset.
Talent is underrated as a book. And in the book, the author talks about everybody who's been an expert at something has had to spend a tremendous amount of time developing that talent. That's the message we want to send to our children. That if you don't get it at first, we're going to keep trying. And as you work and do hard things, you're going to realize that the payday is in the effort. So as a parent, the message we want to instill in our child or children is that everything that is good takes effort. So here's a couple more quotes by Dr. Dweck. She says, "What are the consequences of thinking that your intelligence or personality is something you can develop, as opposed to something that is a fixed, deep-seated trait?" It's a big deal. If it's just my trait, then I'm stuck, in contrast with something I can develop. Believing that your qualities are carved in stone, the fixed mindset, creates an urgency to prove yourself over and over. And so the fixed mindset is, I've got to prove that I'm enough. I've got to prove that I'm enough. In contrast with the growth mindset, this is how she describes a growth mindset. This growth mindset is based on the belief that your basic qualities are things you can cultivate through your efforts, your strategies, and help from others. Although people may differ in every which way, in their initial talents and aptitudes, interests, or temperaments, everyone can change and grow through application and experience. Now, as we help our child form an identity, we want to focus on the language of a growth mindset. If our child has developed a fixed mindset, I just can't do this, the message we want to send is, maybe you have your own story of where you've had to work through something and you've had to work hard to accomplish it. Share your story and let them know that it's going to be in the effort. Practice with them over and over. A few years ago, I was working with one of my children to do a layup. Now, if you've ever coached basketball, in particular girls basketball, I've done so for over 12 years. And I can tell you that most 5th and 6th graders have a really hard time doing a layup, and especially doing a layup off of the right foot when they're doing a right-handed layup. So I have my daughter go practice. Right, left, up, 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 right step, up you go. And I taught my daughter, I said, I don't want you to do anything else. I just want you to get that ball right, left, up, right, left, up. So she did that for a few weeks. And then she said, well, can I do that left-handed? I said, I don't know. You want to try? So I said, what would that be? Left, right, up, left step, right, up, left, right, up, left, right, up. And she did it. Well, by the time she was in 6th grade, she could drive to the right side of the basket. She could drive to the left side of the basket because she had taken the time to develop that skill. The message you want to send to your child is nothing is fixed. If they want to develop a skill, math, art, a sport, playing the piano, whatever it is, teach them that it's going to be the effort That formation of an identity is I can do hard things. That will progress and help them progress in a powerful way.
A fixed mindset is when we are always trying to prove something. And I know I have definitely tried to prove that I was enough in many instances in my life. In contrast, a growth mindset allows people to change and to grow throughout their life experiences. We learn things about ourselves through these difficult life experiences, which can be definitely hard won knowledge. Think back to your own life where you learned something through a lot of personal effort and hard work, something you have become successful in doing. It probably didn't come easy to you at first, but once you put time and effort in, it became easier. I love the phrase Dr. Skinner ended the last segment with: I can do hard things. That's going to be a phrase that we want to instill into our children as we're helping them build their confidence. This is the message we need to convey, and we need them to internally believe this about themselves. So, when talking to your children, be sure to use language that will help them realize that change is always an option, but it may take some effort, and everything that's good takes effort. Dr. Skinner is going to explain the importance of providing continual opportunities for connection to help build our kiddos' confidence.
Now, finally, I just want to emphasize, as our children are forming an identity, we want to help them create continuous connections. The reason why we want this is because all identity formation is relational. So if you observe that your child is alone, isolated, you might want to create activities within your home. Maybe you take them out for ice cream. Maybe you go on hikes. Maybe you go on road trips, on vacations. I remember one family during COVID-19, what they did is they realized that their kids weren't going to be able to be social with their friends. So they had a big family activity and they went on a long road trip. The concept is this: we want to create an environment where our children are having relationship opportunities to interact and to be with other people that are safe and healthy for them. If they can't find it outside, we want to create that inside of our homes. The best way to form a good, positive identity is within the walls of our own homes, creating an environment where they feel connected, heard, and valued. In summary, we can have a big influence on our children's identity development if we just slow down enough to follow some of these things that we've talked about in this course. Everything from helping them understand the fixed growth mindset versus the fixed mindset, helping them feel heard by having empathy, helping them learn to play, helping them be resilient. These are the things that can strengthen their identity. I wish you the best of luck. It's something I'm still working on.
During our session this evening, we really emphasized several key aspects, which included the importance of changing our habits and patterns and helping our children change their habits and patterns. We talked about attuning and listening to our child, how we can help foster resiliency in them, and nurturing creativity by embracing a growth mindset. We also talked about promoting positive social interactions, whether it's between us and our children or our children and new friends. These insights from Dr. Skinner can guide us in forming a healthy identity for our children. Whether you need to just simply make some adjustments to your parenting habits or you feel reassured that your efforts are making a difference, remember that you can always seek further help and support if needed. One place that you can find further help or support is parentguidance.org. It is a website that I'm going to show you now. If you have additional questions as a parent and you're wanting to learn more about your child, about how to parent them, maybe about yourself, we have a couple different sections. I'll show you the courses first. The courses are broken up into different topics that you can look at, whatever relates to the question that you have. If you want to learn more about the developmental stage your child is in, I definitely recommend looking at this section in child development. But if you're looking for something more specific, maybe your child is struggling with bullying at school, or they're having some behavior issues, or you just want to learn more about different parenting techniques, you can look in the parent support section. And if you want to learn more about yourself as a parent, I suggest the self-help section. All of our courses are taught by licensed therapists on our board, like Dr. Kevin Skinner. They're broken down into different sections, and most of them contain easy to watch videos. They last anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours, and you can start and stop whenever you'd like. We also have an Ask a Therapist section, which is great if you are on a long wait list for therapy, like many people are, or maybe you live in a remote area where it's hard to get to a therapist once a week. In this section, you can look at our directory of other questions parents have asked, and it'll show you a video that one of our therapists, like Dr. Skinner, has answered. It also provides you a written transcript of his response. Our entire website is available in English and Spanish. You just click the Spanish button and the whole website turns to Spanish. And you can turn it back to English if you want. This is a great resource to share with someone who has a hard time finding professional help, because you can also submit your own question. So if you have a specific question that you don't see answered already in our directory, we have a couple of pages of them. You are more than welcome to submit your own question, and one of our therapists will respond with a video and a transcript. Your district specifically also has parent coaching, which is probably the best individualized support for you as a parent. Our parent coaches are trained in mental health topics, child development, and parenting techniques. They're trained by all the clinicians on our board, and they can help you answer any questions that you might have, whether you want to know if you're doing a good job what you're doing, or you have no idea where to start. You can sign up in English or in Spanish. It is all completely free, just like the courses in the Ask a Therapist section. You'll fill out a quick questionnaire and you'll be matched with a coach within 24 to 48 hours. You'll get a virtual session weekly, and you'll be able to just have someone in your corner who is knowledgeable and supportive and really cares about you and your family. If you want to register for coaching, if you're watching this live, or if you are watching this replay, you can scan the QR code and this will take you directly to coaching for your district. Thank you all so much for being here this evening and learning with me and Dr. Skinner about what we can do to build our child's confidence.
Thank you so much. You guys are always so informative. We really appreciate it. And so if my parents on here that still hanging out with us, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A feature for us. We'll give you a few minutes to type if you have any questions. And while you're doing that, I can just let you know that I will be back next Thursday. So you're welcome to join me every single Thursday that there is school in session. We will have another helpful, informative presentation and discussion, just like the one that you've seen here. And if you have any questions for me, you can definitely feel free to reach out to me. Again, the Parent Academy's email address is parentacademy@gm.sbac.edu, and I will get to those questions. Again, I am Tina Foston Hayes, the Parent Academy Specialist for Educational Equity and Outreach. And I just thank you for joining us tonight. Next week, we will have a presentation from New Worlds Reading. So you are definitely welcome to join in. And Miss Macy, I don't see anyone typing or any questions popping up. So I'll go ahead and close us out for tonight. Thank you so much for all your help and this awesome presentation that you provided for us this evening. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great one.
You too.
Bye.